Hi, I'm Christy from Into Film.
Nice to meet you, Christy.
That sugar film is about the dangers of hidden sugars in food. It's a well-covered subject, so why was it important to get your side of the story across?
I think what made it important to me was that I remember walking down a supermarket and picking up a can of tomato soup and seeing that it had 8 teaspoons of sugar in it. And I thought, look, we all know that there's sugar in Coca-Cola and donuts and things like that, but are people aware of the types of sugar that are hiding in these other foods? So that's what started the experiment.
Nice. During your 60-day experiment, you see it getting increasingly harder for you. Was there any point you thought you were going to give up?
It's a good question. Yes, towards the end I really struggled. And I think one of the things that really surprised me was the effect on my moods and the way I could concentrate. I just felt very lethargic throughout the day, because you need to understand that normally if you're not having sugar, you just rely on like slow releasing foods like healthy fats and proteins that have a slower release in your body. But if you're having lots of sugar, you're just going up and down and getting that little buzz and then going down again throughout the day, and that was really exhausting by the end.
In the film, you have actors presenting facts and information. Why did you choose to do this, and how did you get them involved?
I guess the objective was to always make it accessible and fun and a bit more playful. Plus, I think because it's a subject about sugar, it kind of lends itself to very bright colours and like a bit of a Willy Wonka kind of madness to it that you could really push. So that was always very important. And then in terms of the actors, we just sort of made a pitch document, which means you make like a miniature magazine that explains what the film's going to be about and the kind of tone and the colours you want to use. And we sent that to Hugh Jackman, and he looks after his body very well because it's kind of how he makes his living. So he was really supportive and wanted to help out. And then when we wrote to Stephen Fry, he said that he's actually had a sugar addiction his whole life. So it's something that's very real to him. He struggles to deal with sugar, and he loved the idea that we were aiming it at kids and families, so he said yes. So we were very lucky.
They adhere to a rule. They break down to glucose, which our body uses for fuel.
I love Stephen Fry.
Yeah, so do I.
I like the fact you included your own life story. Did you always know what you wanted to include in your film, or did it take on a life of its own? Yeah,
it's a really good observation. It did, and that's what happens in documentaries. Sometimes you plan for something, and because it's a documentary and it's life, all these unexpected things happen. And really, I think if the film had just been talking heads and a lot of science, it might have been a bit boring, but I think people are responding to the film because it's a personal journey and we can all relate to that. People see what I have for breakfast and people go, that's what I eat, or that's what I give my kids every day, and look how it's affecting his body. So I think it just makes it a bit more personal and real for people, and there's an element of humanity to it rather than just science.
Were you trying to relate to a young audience? Because for me, I was really shocked and it made me really think about what I eat. Was this your intention?
Most people have probably had sugar every day since they were babies because it's hidden in so many different foods. And so we know now that it affects your palate, the way you taste foods, but also it affects your metabolic health, which is inside your hormones, and they start to adapt to that way of eating. So for me, it was very important that we get to your generation before you ingrain too many of those habits, and you can start to be a bit more aware of how much sugar you're having. It's not to say you can't have sugar, but just to be smart about it so you know how much you're having.
The music video at the end was very funny, especially the Sugar Daddy and Jam and Toes. Are you a want-to-be pop star?
You know me too well, Christy. I think you just revealed my inner secrets. Yes, I do harbour dreams of that, but I don't think my pop career is going to take off, sadly. I think it's a little bit too silly, but I had a great time making it.
I think it will take off.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
No worries, you were fantastic for your interview. Thank you.
Thank you.